So hi, this is Mark Payne from SFL Group. I'm here with Harvey and Phil. Now over here we've got a Midas Heritage HD96. They've never seen the console before. I've had the privilege of working with Midas R&D for the last 2 years, and we're in January 2019. I'm just about to take it out next week on 4 kind of under the radar shows with Genesis Visible Touch. So the idea of this is to be informative. The guys have never seen the board before. They're both experienced engineers, both using Midas consoles and also Digico consoles and Yamaha consoles. So hopefully their questions, which I don't know what they'll be, will inform what we see. So let's have some fun and have a look at the board.
Look at that.
Is it what you were at all expecting?
No.
So some things you'll be familiar with. First of all, it focuses on VCAs.
Yes,
I've laid it out in a very similar way to a Pro Series, in that we've got pop groups. Here's a couple of pop groups.
Okay.
We've got VCAs. So nothing that you're not used to seeing.
Yeah.
However, what is different about this board?
That screen is gorgeous.
Is a gorgeous screen.
Huge.
It's a huge screen,
huge.
and obviously it's a touch screen. So it supports multi-touch.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So you can do that sort of thing if you want to. So the general layout of the board is we have a navigation area. I'm in home mode at the moment. You can also get to home mode by hitting that button, which is this view, and we can navigate therefore through the inputs in banks of 8. The 24 idea, I guess, is the 16 here. There's 8 there. What does that add up to?
24.
There's your 24, and then there's another 4, which is like an area B. So we've got our 16 input faders, if you like, an 8-way VCA, and then an area B.
Love that. Love that.
Now, of course, there are many more VCAs. So if you're more of a theatre style mixer, then it supports theatre mode, where you would maybe have the VCAs here and you have the inputs there. However you want to organise it, because the board, you're able to put anything anywhere effectively. You've got a hardware navigation area, which is, you'll notice that the context of what I'm touching is changing.
Similar to the Pro Series.
Still the same really responsive analog feel, pots. There's no clicky encoders. That's come from Pro Series. You'll notice there are 4 bands of EQ as well, not one band that we have to move up and back. HD96. 96K, obviously, can only be 96K. That's a Midas value. 144 inputs.
Wow.
Okay.
96 bus outputs, and in addition to that, 24 dedicated matrix.
Wow.
24 effect slots. So that's the same as Pro X. What I can tell you about the effect slots already completed is the VSS4, which is the TC Electronics System 6000 reverb. Now, I'm using that because, you know, did we love Midas reverbs? No. Did we? We didn't.
Next question.
Moving on.
You're going to love it now. They're working on porting TC Electronics VSS3, and if you're familiar with the M2000 or M3000 reverb, that's what's going in, and that will take 1 slot. So you can have the full fat studio reverb or just a slight compromise of that. I always love this stuff. We've still got them in our racks because of that. There's a new multi-band compressor called a M6. Guess what that's based on? There's a KT bus compressor. When I show you it, that'll remind you of a famous British studio console. That's finished. This is finished. That's done. If it's got a tick by it, it's already implemented. Lake speaker processing is going to be in there. We think. Remember, because there's so much going on here, we can. If you were doing live mix down, if you've done a show and you want to multi-track it and you want to knock out a quick live mix on a remix, you don't need to re-import this back into the DAW, because there's enough on the board just to smack out, you know. So I said, well, give us a TC mastering plugin then, a finalizer. Dual user interface CPUs, like dual MCs. There's 2 completely separate CPUs in there. That's partly what's required to generate the 24 effect slots and this kind of input count. The FPGA mix engine, which is basically the mix engine from Pro Series, has been boosted up to 64-bit, full 64-bit FPGA. It's running at 96K, can't run at anything else. Why would you want to? There are 18 Shark audio processors. Something that is really new for Midas and new for everybody, I don't know any board that does this. What Midas are using, they're using the GPU to run machine learning algorithms. And already I've seen the demo. It's not enabled on the board yet, but already I've seen the demo where you basically get a channel, hit a button on the channel, it analyzes the audio waveform, says that's a kick drum, names it as a kick drum, and then inserts, and then goes to the cloud account, finds out what your favorite processing is on the kick drum and sets that for you.
Wow. That's crazy.
And this cognification of the console is a whole new depth of deep stuff that HD is going to be able to do. All of this is in the console. There is no external brain or whatever.
Okay.
And I told you about also the cloud account, the things on Wi-Fi. You can hard connect it. It has a Wi-Fi connection, built Wi-Fi. You can tether it to your phone. By the time you finish the show, it's already uploaded your show file to your personal cloud account.
Memory sticks. Yeah, it's great.
That's cool. I like that.
Wow.
It's on the back of the console, there are 8 inputs, 8 outputs. Obviously, mic pre's on the ins, Midas outputs here. There are 4 direct AES 50 ports. This board is still using the AES 50 infrastructure, so all the cool mic preamps, the mic splitters, the 231s that we use are still going to work. Now, in addition to that, of course, the major way of getting I/O connected is through the Hypermax. There are 2 Hypermax. Dual redundant power supplies is what I meant to say. Digital ins and outs.
Nice.
These are the same CM1 slots that are in a 9650,
really cool.
so you can lob yourself in a Dante card here, 64 channels of Dante, a MADI card, another 64 channels of MADI.
Straight in there.
That's nice.
Straight in. Screen outs for both of the user interface processors.
Are they both customizable?
Yes, and the board is intended to be able to be used in dual user mode. So one guy could be running a touchscreen looking after system and output and lake processing, and the other guy could be actually mixing the gig.
All within the console.
All within the same console. That's the idea.
USB hub?
So I think in the future there's the idea of having a separate fader wing if you want to have it.
Nice.
Expansions here.
Yeah, and then you've got your general USB for keyboards and whatever. I've never attached a keyboard to this because, of course, now we're in the region of the touchscreen.
You've also got an Ultranet port on the back there, don't you, as well? But that's really interesting. Yeah, a lot of. It's great to have the AS ports straight on the back as well. Three AS ports in and out.
Yeah, obviously they support sample rate conversion in the normal way, so you can have any.
So you get a calculator.
192.
192. Yeah, so 2 drops of 192 channels.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be enough. Oh, by the way, these are 240 by 240
Really high res.
pixel res,
Really
which
high
means that for a, if I look at, for example, if I look at outputs, it means that for something that's a stereo output, we can support stereo metering on it.
That's cool.
Nice.
So you can have as many pages of these kind of macro buttons as you like. At the moment, I'm just running on 3 pages.
And what can you do with these buttons?
Well, effectively, it will be anything. So they're going to implement a macro thing. At the moment, what I'm doing with them is we're in virtual sound check mode at the moment. So we're pulling in from Logic, and I've got a DS Pro interface in the back here. Phil, do you want to just have a quick look at that? People might not be aware of that, and I'm a fan of that unit. That takes 72 channels of AES 50 in and spits it at the console. I'm only using 48 here. Now, to take the board out of virtual sound check mode, all I need to do is press and hold that, and now I'm clicked on the other side. Nice. I can't just click it, I've got to press and hold it, so it's a very intentional thing. That's very cool. Now, the other really cool thing is things like your reverbs and your talk mic. or anything that you want to live on both sides of the virtual sound check, because what we used to have to do it by dual patching them. We don't do that anymore. We define the channel, or the return point, as being auxiliary mode, and then it keeps it consistent whether you're in virtual sound check mode or not. So that's really very, very cool.
Wow.
Midas patching now looks a bit like this. So it's by default it's locked, so I'm safe to do things. You can see that that drum reverb is going to that effects thing. Look, you can see where it's patched. And
so still a familiar from and to sort
from
of
and
style.
to, yes, is how they're doing it. But it's a lot more graphical and pictorial. It's a lot easier to use. Yeah. So here I'm selecting flip mode, and then I can go through my in-ear mixes. So I've got for two guitarists, the keyboard player and the drummer, and then I've got 2 stage wedges. So that's how I'm quickly accessing and selecting to cans what I'm hearing. And then you've still got the output here. So say for example I want to create a VCA, a VCA 9 for example, nothing in it at the moment. If I press and hold, it'll go into program mode, and then this you can basically put things in. You're going to love this, and then reorder them.
Oh, you just move them around.
That's nice.
Yeah. Very intuitive.
That's nice.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that. And you can put outputs and inputs to VCAs.
Yes, and also the board's got in this mode, that my favourite mode is this home mode, where there's this sense of separation between input and output, and that's my favourite. That's my favourite mode. So if I'm selecting an input, it's coming here with the automatic navigation of me touching something, or I can go through it myself here. Okay, or I can be seeing all of that here in that mode where I see, you know, the gate and the compressor and whether I'm EQing or not EQing. But normally I think I'm probably having that down and seeing that level of view. But if I then select an output, which I can either do by selecting an output here, you'll notice that I'm seeing the output information that side. And that for me is a bit like how a Pro Throw 369 used to work, where you press that button to send outputs over to that side and inputs to this side. You can navigate to inputs just by selecting. You can navigate to inputs by selecting the VCA context. You can navigate to outputs by selecting. You'll notice I've got a pin channel here. What I've made this, I can turn the pin off, but it doesn't matter where I am in the console. I could be looking at some set of inputs, but always if I hit that pin, that for me is my reverb send, sorry, not my reverb, my delay send on the lead vocal. You can select your outputs in flip mode and do a sends on fader. Alternatively, you can navigate to anywhere. 73 on.
Nice.
1 to 24, there it is. And then within the 8s within there.
So you've got 96 mix ends and also 24 matrix on top of that as
well.
Wow.
And also, it's not implemented yet because they've still got to make the delay compensation work, but they're working on augs to augs mixing. So you can create auxiliary subgroups and then hand them on to further auxiliaries for in-ears.
So you could do subgroup-based mixing, so you could do an orchestra or something like that, all the violins to some ears, and wow. I'm intrigued by this little coffee cup at the top here.
Oh, Mancino.
Yes.
Okay, so the future for Mancino, the idea is that you can select multiple channels, like I've just selected here, or and then let me just deselect these ones, and then you could do something with them. So do you know in Pro Series we used to do the thing where we would go channel 1. This is how I like a channel to be set up in a Midas console. Compressor here, but threshold wound out. EQ here, but the gain's down. And then we would then copy and paste it through. What you'd now do is you go into the EQ section of this, select as many channels, all of them. EQ. I mean, if I press and hold, it'll select all of them.
Oh, wow.
And then standard settings, jobs are good. Now, if I press and hold that, I'm in copy mode. Pasty, pasty, pasty. So that's your copy and paste.
Nice.
And is that, when you're holding that, is that copying the whole channel strip or just that window?
If you just want to copy, let's say, for example, the compressor settings, so let's pop him in on compressor. Press that. Now I'm in compressor only is going to be put there, there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
and
then
the
you press it again and then it comes out.
Yeah, there you
You've
go.
still got the different modes of compressor like you did on...
Yes, same modes.
That's audition. Okay.
Yeah, there's an audition mode so that you can make an EQ change or a compression change which you monitor in your cans, but it's not going out live.
Oh, that's very cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
like that.
So sort of just to see what it would sound like. And
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's the same compressor and EQ from Pro Series, but with some changes. Like the attack time, you've got much more variation on the attack time, so you can slow the compressor down a lot more.
Oh, okay.
But it's still the creative, adaptive.
Yes.
I only ever use
Corrective.
corrective.
Vintage.
Yeah, I only
Those
ever.
ones.
I
Shiver.
yeah.
10 points. 10 points. So what's the navigation button at the top?
That is how we define the layout changes
okay.
of the console.
Okay. And then the automation, does that look very
Automation is very, very different. So if I wanted to go to a new, if I wanted to store to a new scene, I'd press new scene. That's going to call that scene 1. Turned in eye.
Nice big keyboard though. Typing, that's really nice.
Return. There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then you can create playlists of scenes.
Yeah.
So you
could choose some scenes and not other scenes, and
indeed,
Yeah.
yes, and that's done in my shows, I think. So here's a playlist, which is that followed by that.
Okay.
oh, and you can drag and drop them as well.
You can drag and drop them.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Oh, very
Yeah.
nice.
Recall scope? While we're on this?
yes, yes.
No,
Much more interested than your question, which I can't answer. Let me answer a different question. The pick-off point for pre-fade auxiliaries can now be pre-EQ, post-EQ, post-dynamic, anywhere you like in the signal chain.
That's really cool.
That old limitation
That's
of Pro
nice.
Series is gone.
That's
So
nice.
that's something you want, but you also want the ability to do recall safing,
Page.
options page.
Saves.
Oh, safes. There you go.
There you go. Or you can have...
That is not working yet, but
Okay.
that is the thing I was telling you about where we do signal analysis and then we apply machine learning
That's what
to the
it is.
signal
Okay, cool.
analysis. That's what that's going to be.
So
You create a cloud account on a Midas website, and then you've got passwords to that, and then when you go into your user profile, the board then synchronizes with your cloud account.
That's so cool.
It is very cool.
And offline editor?
Yes, there's an offline-online editor, so the same editor program will both be an offline editor and also is pluggable into the console and then becomes another user interface.
Wow, okay, cool.
Okay. Nice.
And there's going to be an iPad-y thing. And
I guess you could do your offline editor to your cloud account and you just pick it up on the console. And
Yep,
That's
you've
so
got it.
cool.
Keep on tweaking, come back, and then pick it up.
That's so cool. I like that. I like that a lot.
What could possibly go wrong?
There
may be trouble ahead.
Question for you. It
Yes.
says HD96-24.
Well, I
Does that
think
mean
the
that-
24 is the 24 fader count.
But does that mean they're going to make a bigger one?
You know. Here's a question. You know, will they make a bigger one? Possibly. Will they make a small one? Probably.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of these things where, as we know from what board manufacturers do, they seek the core technology in an introductory product, and then they maybe make it bigger, and they maybe make it smaller.
Yeah.
You know, obviously Midas are in the business of making consoles at different price points, and so we're going to see smaller and bigger things.
And you've got the CO changeover to bring
Yes,
it down.
indeed. So at the moment, although I'm area B there, which is stolen the master, if I hit that, I get the master back here.
Nice, cool.
And because that freaks me out, to be honest, because I'm an old bloke, I've also got what I call PA system here, which brings me my left and right
Yeah, okay.
And I always sit the PA on a matrix. So that's bringing left, right, my matrix 1, 2, my subs, my fill, and my record feed, you know, just so that I can bring that together.
Yeah.
I do a lot of things which are, you know, because I'm not as quick as I used to be. I'm certainly not as quick as these guys are. And so I just need to leave myself little presents.
Is that what you call it?
That take away the panic.
The assignable dials.
There's a page here which is assignables, and so if I touch something here, it's here as a touch and turn.
Ah, cool.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I haven't really shown you one of the really cool things about this is the whole design of this guy, which allows me to do this.
Oh wow.
Obviously, I can do that. That's obvious and boring, and I never do it. Do you do that?
I wouldn't do that either.
Okay, old people I don't think do this, and maybe young people don't do it either. But maybe I will do this. So
you press and hold, and it.
Yes, and what's nice about these things is if you are up here, of course you've got more angular accuracy.
Yeah.
And if you're down here, you've got more responsiveness. You're faster, but. And then what you can do with these guys is that didn't work so well. Lock it, and then you can place it somewhere else.
No way.
And then if you unlock it, it goes away.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
So
always that's a touch and turn here as well.
Does that mean you can have all three like there?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Fill your screen with them. Always wanted Tom to lower me down.
That's hilarious.
Now, is it channel specific? Is the next question.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's channel context. So you
can have them just there, and then
now you know, of course, you're going to get a choice over that, but that's one of the kind of.
That's very cool.
You know, so.
It's very responsive as you touch it.
Yeah.